Join UF Hall of Famer and 14-year NFL vet Shane Matthews every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about your Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions with some of the biggest names in sports. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Or watch us live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.
Good morning. Live edition of Matthews in the Morning coming to you from the International Diamond Center studios, locations across the state of Florida and right there in Celebration Point in the heart of Gator Nation. PodUp Heating and Air is your number one local HVAC company. Comfort is our business. Peace of mind is our promise. Today's show, we'll have Brent Beaird, a college football analyst and Heisman Trophy voter, and then we'll have JC Win with JC, second portion of the show. Let's go straight to the Titan MR Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Tent. We're joined by our good friend Brent Beaird. Good morning, Brent. How you doing?
Morning, Shane. Doing okay. Hope you are too. Hard to believe that we're already near Thanksgiving week, right? It seemed like the season just began, but we're used to it flying through, and we've got a rather incredible postseason coming up too.
Yeah, it will be a lot of fun, no question about that. Brent, the playoff rankings came out Tuesday night. Anything surprise you?
Well, a lot of it held the same. There was a lot of question about how far Alabama would fall, and they fell to number 10. And we've got plenty of two-loss teams in here, including Alabama. But for a 12-team playoff, BYU and Utah are 11 and 12. Now, you've got several teams that are pretty close. Miami is 13. Vandy is 14, too. So, but there won't. I don't think there'll be as much decided this week with some of the games that are being played. But we will have a incredible week next week in the SEC that will go a long way in determining a lot of things.
Yeah, for sure. Brent, as of today, we don't know who's going to Atlanta.
No.
I guess if everybody wins, it will be A&M versus Alabama. Is that correct?
We think we're still not sure about that, frankly. I mean, you've got Georgia here now. A&M is undefeated. Georgia has one loss to Alabama. Bama now has two, so their margin of error is cut down considerably. But to really give us an indication, the SEC office said that they will not be able to determine who goes to Atlanta until after next week's games are completed. So, I mean, we'll probably have a scenario by certainly by the end of the week next week. And we've got 3 games going on that we'll get into on Friday and the rest of them on Saturday. So it's much yet to be decided, even for the SEC.
Yeah, I think, though, if just everybody wins, like all the favorites, A&M will be undefeated. So they automatically go. Yeah, Alabama only has one loss, but they beat everybody else. So it'd be Alabama, A&M. Yeah. If everybody holds serve, so to speak. Brent, there's a lot of talk about, Notre Dame versus the Miami, potentially both teams, one team getting left out, even though Notre Dame beat Miami. JC and I talked about it yesterday. I think the eye test tells you right now Notre Dame's the better football team. Yeah. How do you think that may play out?
Right now, to what you're saying, Miami is 13. Notre Dame is number 9. I think with what Notre Dame's got left, they will probably run the table, so they'll be 10 and 2. Now Miami, on the other hand, that I think they might also, but the reality is for Miami, I'm looking at their schedule here. Miami would have Virginia Tech and Pittsburgh. So I'll say this. Between the two, I think Miami has a lot better chance of losing than Notre Dame does.
Text on Titan, more text on from Michael in Tennessee says, I heard that the Gators were supposed to have an interview with John Summerall, Tulane's coach. For whatever reason, it was canceled. Is this all smoke and mirrors? What are your thoughts? Yeah, I don't know anything about that. The coaching search has kind of exhausted me.
Really?
2 weeks ago to a month ago, I would have told you Lane Kiffin was a lock to come to Florida. I still think he's going to come, but there's so much stuff going on now. It's really bizarre. And I will just say this: don't believe half the stuff you see on Twitter.
I would agree. Yes, he is. He was supposed to be interviewing on Thursday, or at least that was report. But he is not, and I understand has removed his name from the mix. So Shane's correct with that. So but look, there are going to be a lot of rumors going on, and you can only believe very little of them.
That's very true. All right, a big game outside the SEC is number 17 USC is playing at Oregon. I think this is for a playoff spot, I believe. Your thoughts on this game, Brent?
Yeah, that's going to be a really good. The game is at Oregon. Oregon is defensively they're much better. They've allowed only 11.5 points per game since the loss to Indiana. So I still think they're the better team. They're favored by 9.5. The game, obviously, again, is at Oregon. So, and look, USC's had a nice year. They're staying in it. They are number 17. So if they were to win this game, that would help them tremendously as far as a possible playoff berth. Now, remember, we're at 12 this year, but there is a real possibility that we're going to 16 as soon as next year. And that would really help a lot of these teams. And what we're talking about here is BYU and Utah are 11 and 12, but Miami's 13, Vandy is 14, believe it or not. Southern Cal, who we're talking about, is 15, and Georgia Tech is. I'm sorry. Let me go back to this. I was looking at something else. Miami is 13 here. And we've got Vandy, Southern Cal, Georgia Tech, and Texas. That goes to 17. So the reality is it's going to be a big difference when we go from 12 to 16 as far as teams included, the teams we'll be talking about.
The Pouncey twins, Mike and Marquise, invite you to try the mango martinis at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, handcrafted with their J.F. Hayden liqueurs. Try those flavors and find your favorite shop, jfhaydens.com. We had a Barone 71 on YouTube brought to you by Claude Plum. Says, QB, how does the NFL pension work in the case of Trask signing this late in the year? Does it count as half a season? Well, he's on the practice squad. Back when I played many moons ago, practice squad got no pension. It did not count at all toward your benefits. That may have changed. To get all your pension and all that stuff, you have to have 3 years and 3 games to get vested. So I don't know what the new rules are in that. Brent, around the SEC, let's start with Alabama. They're playing Eastern Illinois. Nobody cares about that game, but just your thoughts. Were you surprised Oklahoma rolled in there and won that game?
Yeah, to some degree. But the problem is Bama right now is too one-dimensional. They need to be able to run the ball. They're barely getting 100 yards rushing, and that's been a problem. And another problem is the inconsistency of the offensive line also. But still, even with all the mistakes that they made in that game, if their field goal kicker is able to kick field goal, they may have won the game. That's not saying Oklahoma couldn't have come back down and got one themselves. I think Ty Simpson is probably out of the Heisman race. That may give him an opportunity to concentrate a little bit more. Oklahoma really played well defensively in that game. They had a pick six. They recovered a crucial fumble. Basically, Alabama made three mistakes. But if you just looked at the stats, Alabama doubled Oklahoma in yards and so forth. So that was a bit deceiving. But it was a big win, certainly for Oklahoma, with what's going on here. So and what you've got so far in the league is, will Oklahoma be able to win out? They've got Missouri and LSU. Bama's got Eastern Illinois. Then they go to Auburn. So it's really fascinating. We're literally coming down to the last week of the season before we really know what's going to happen.
Very true. Clint says on YouTube, brought to you by Clay Plumman, they should expand the playoffs to 24 teams, start the season a week earlier, move the conference games Thanksgiving weekend, and start the playoffs the week after. I'm all for 24 teams. And that what FCS does? Don't they do 24, or do they do more than that?
Yeah, that's where they have been. And 24. I think we'll do 16 first, and they'll see where that goes, and then we may end up at 24 at that point a little bit later on down the line. Look, I mean, Shane, this stuff still comes down to money, right? And if you got 24, you make a lot more money than you can at 12 or 16. So I think that's where we're going. But we very well may have 16 when we're talking about this next year.
Yeah. Arkansas is playing the Texas Longhorns. Old school rivalry. How do you see that game going?
Arkansas is still struggling. I mean, Bobby Petrino is basically 0-5 at Arkansas. Now, they played better. I don't think there's any doubt about that, but 0-5 is still 0-5 is the problem. Texas has allowed 30-plus points in its last three games. Now, I don't know if you've heard this, Shane, but Sark came out yesterday during his news conference and really emphasized the point that he is not leaving Texas. There was a rumor that he was probably going to the NFL at the end of the season, so he dealt with that before he said anything in his press conference. So if you take him at his word, he will be back. It's been a struggling year for Texas. They've allowed 30-plus points in their last three games. I think Texas still wins this game. The game's at Texas. Arkansas is not real good about creating turnovers. Now, look, they have improved, but they're still not winning. So, Shane, the question is, has Petrino done enough for this team to improve to bring him back another year, or are they going to be searching for somebody else?
Well, if I was in charge of Arkansas, I'd hire Bobby Petrino to be my head coach. But that's just me. Jerry on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel All, says, I was thinking that if Alabama fires Kalen DeBoer, what are the chances Kiffin ends up there? I don't think they're going to fire Kalen DeBoer.
No, they're not. No, I can tell you that's not going to happen. That would bring a lot of instability. Now, if they lose to Auburn, there'll be a lot of weeping and gnashing of teeth, shall we say, in the state of Alabama. But he would certainly be on the hot seat coming up next year. But I'm pretty sure there is nothing that can happen at this point that he would not be back next year.
Gators host the Tennessee Vols. It's so strange, Brent, so late in the year, and nobody's even talking about the game.
Yeah, well, they're talking about the coaching situation, obviously. And Tennessee is not won in Gainesville since 2003, which is something certainly that is amazing. George Gums will undergo surgery on his right knee. That they will not have him then, but he'll be ready for next year. There was a lot said yesterday about John Sumrall not interviewing with Florida. he may end up at Auburn. I'm not saying he is, but that might be kind of where that goes. Caleb Banks could come back this week. Shane, you probably know more about that one. The defensive lineman who has been out at this point. So, but look, to your point, the game's almost been swallowed up by all the coaching questions right now.
Yeah, it really has. Because there's so many coach openings in the SEC. Yes. I think a couple more could possibly open up as we move on towards the end of the year. A big game really in the conference. Missouri's hosting Oklahoma. This is a huge game for Oklahoma to stay in the playoff hunt.
Yeah. There's no doubt about that. And Oklahoma, even though they didn't do much offensively against Alabama, they are nasty defensively. I mean, they are really, really good. There is some optimism that Bo Pribula may be able to come back. I don't know if it's going to be necessarily against Oklahoma or not. We'll watch that rather closely and see where that goes. Shane, how impressed were you with Ahmad Hardy running for 300 yards? He's 5'10", 210. But look, I don't care if you're running against air or the neighborhood kids on Thanksgiving Day. 300 yards is 300 yards. I don't think he'll get that against Oklahoma. Obviously, one of the better defenses in the league, but that's still rather impressive, is it not?
Yep, just a good old Mississippi boy putting him on his own home state team. He's from Mississippi, went to Louisiana Monroe, and then obviously transferred to Missouri, but ran for over 300 yards against his home state, University of Mississippi State. So very, very impressive. It seems like Missouri always has good running backs the last few years. Brent, we got a text here on the Titan and More text line from Billy. Billy wants to know, if you had to vote today, who are your top three Heisman?
Oh gosh, that's really tough. Well, the problem is we're not really allowed to say that.
That's right.
Is the thing, I'm really sincerely not trying to dodge the question, but that's just the reality of it. I mean, Trinidad Chambliss at Ole Miss, I think will get obviously a look. The Indiana quarterback, a lot of people love him and what he's done, and that has been rather impressive. Also, so I'll throw a couple of them out there with it as far as people to take a look at. So, but that's going to be interesting. Listen. I will talk about this all day long, very, very soon, when we're allowed to do it. But I understand the question. It's a good one.
Well, it's interesting. The people up there that I'm just thinking of right now. You just mentioned Mendoza. You mentioned Trinidad Chambliss, Diego Pavia. Some people have up there. Who was the other one I was thinking of? But anyway, what I was trying to say is every one of them, Brent, are transfers. Yeah,
that's right. That's a great point. Yes. Oh, yeah. And listen, and you've got guys, he won't win it, but Keywan Lacey at Ole Miss has become one of the better running backs in the league right now. And I don't think enough people have talked about guys like that, right, Shane? I mean, it's been quite impressive what he's been able to do.
He's phenomenal. All right, South Carolina blows a huge lead at A&M, Brent. Any chance Shane Beamer gets fired at the end of the season?
I think he survives going into next year. I mean, they might. But see, the problem right now is for some schools, and I think this is what's going on with Stoops at Kentucky. Now, they're winning now, which really helps them. But when the reality is, when you've got so many jobs open up right now in the SEC, if you get into that mix, you may not be in your, say, South Carolina. you may not get who you want, or if you waited a year and these SEC jobs were filled, and not saying there won't be more come open next year, because I'm sure there will. So to say all that, look, they've struggled. The problem with what happened last week in the A&M game, and look, I get this. Shane Beamer's a real rah-rah guy. He you see him on the sideline. He raises his arms. He roots his guys on. There's nothing wrong with that. But the thing that happened is that caused him to be so criticized is he was celebrating with his team when he was 30-3, and they were basically going into halftime. They come back out, and it's just a role reversal where Texas A&M comes back and amazingly wins the game. So Beamer got a lot of criticism for that. I don't know how warranted that is, frankly, Shane. But the reality is, I think he stays another year, unless they were to get drilled by Clemson or something like that. But look, when you've got this many jobs opening in the league, I mean, how far down the pecking order could they go?
Yeah, no, I'm with you. The other transfer quarterback that could be up for the Heisman, just flying under the radar, is Julian Sayin at Ohio State.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you remember Sayin was an Alabama commitment, and decided to leave. Basically, I mean, I won't say they ignored him when the new coaching staff under Kalen DeBoer came there, but they didn't give him a lot. But look, he's going to Ohio State. I'm curious what you think about him, but he's been impressive so far.
He's very, very good. That's what I'm saying. He's flying under the radar. Nobody's talking about him. He's completing over 80% of his passes. He's on a damn good team. He's very good. Atlantic Roofing, your roofing experts for residential and commercial roofing with more than 50 years of local experience. A few more minutes with Brent Beaird. Brent, okay, so let's move down to the ACC.
Yeah.
They're probably only going to get one team in the playoffs. This week is a big week in the conference because Georgia Tech plays Pitt.
Yes.
Pitt is still in the mix. They only have 2 losses. I think they control their destiny if they win out, I believe. And then Miami's at Virginia Tech. Just talk about your thoughts in the ACC.
Yeah, these are 2 big games. There's no doubt about that. Georgia Tech's got to go to Pitt. Pitt is second in the ACC in run defense, and they allowed 175 yards to Notre Dame in week 12. So Georgia Tech has allowed an average of 560 total yards in their last 2 games. So that there's a lot of chaos. I think Shane's right. It may only be 2. Miami goes to Virginia Tech. Now, Virginia Tech obviously has their new coach and the former Penn State coach, which is I think will work out well for them. Miami still got maybe the best defense and points allowed in the league. So yeah, Shane's right. These are 2 crucial games coming up for the ACC in a year where that very well may happen, to where they only get 2 in. I mean, they've really Shane, I don't know if we've seen a conference in a while that's really the conference, once they got into league games, have just kind of tore each other apart, frankly, and that's been very difficult for them. So yeah, I mean, it may say beat Georgia Tech and that's it. May get another in with Miami if they run the table, but right now more. I think I'll put it this way: people will be surprised, I think, if the ACC got more than one team in right now.
I'm one of those. I think they only get one. Whoever wins their league is getting in. Brent, give us some nuggets before we get you out of here.
Yeah, there's still a good bit that is going on. As far as the games this week, we have talked about them, and they're understandable. But Texas A&M hosts Samford. I mean, they'll win that game easily. But A&M has been really impressive. Their wideouts, Casey Concepcion, Mario Craver have been good. Marcel Reed, I'm curious what you think about him, Shane. He has really at times played very well. Also, some other games of note that we really haven't talked about that much. Now, Ole Miss is off. This is why people are seeing Lane's name on the headline so often. Mississippi State is off to consider that. We talked about the Oklahoma situation with Missouri hosting Oklahoma. I don't think weather is going to be that difficult an issue with that. Either LSU hosts Western Kentucky. Michael Van Buren may be the quarterback for LSU the rest of the year. Nussmeier has been hurt a good bit, so I don't really see him coming in and playing much at this time. Kentucky is on the verge of being bowl eligible. They've got, frankly, a pretty big game at Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt wants to stay in the hunt, so they need to win this game. So kudos to Kentucky for kind of coming up and playing well. Georgia hosts Charlotte. Charlotte's allowed 48 points or more in 4 of their losses, so you'll probably see that happen again along that line too. So, but there are games going on. But Shane, people are just so interested in what's going on with the coaching situation. Unfortunately, that's really I think people are looking at that more than the games going on this week.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Brent, great stuff as always. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you next week, my man.
Okay, friend. Take care.
That's Brent Beaird, college football analyst, Heisman Trophy voter. Join us on the Titan More Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Town. Rue's Ogre State Farm Office is a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visitogreinsurance.com. Give them a call, 352-240-1779. Quick timeout. Come back. We're joined by JC. You're watching and listening to PodUp Matthews in the morning from the International Diamond Center Studios. We'll be right back.
Our premium sponsors are Atlantic Roofing, Campus USA Credit Union, International Diamond Center, J.F. Hayden's Craft Liqueurs, Los Landeros Tequila, Meldon Law, Titan MRI and Imaging, UF Health Orthopedics. Our gridiron sponsors are Baker's Sports, Comfort Temp, Electronics World, Florida Cracker Kitchen, Florida Victorious, Gallo Car Wash, Miapa Latin Cafe, Peachland Dental, Quality Plumbing, Rue's Ogre State Farm, Silverback Concrete, 84 Lumber, Big Mills Cheesesteaks, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Gator Dominoes, Ironwood Golf Course, McDonald's of Gainesville, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, UF Bookstores, Advocare, and MG&A Wealth. Watch and listen to us live on Facebook and YouTube. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss any episodes. And if you want to advertise, give my man Freddie a call at 352-284-3733.
Naysayers. Setbacks. Injuries. Life throws a lot of hurdles your way. The key is just keep jumping them.
The jewelry store with the most likes, the most positive reviews, the most raving fans is International Diamond Center.
IDC is definitely a place that I will come to as long as I live here. This will be my go-to place always.
Literally the best jewelry store in town. You'll make friends for life coming in here. I felt like family from the beginning. The value was extraordinary.
I've got a beautiful diamond on my finger and I'm very proud of it.
International Diamond Center.
I'm very happy to show it off.
At Celebration Point and online at shopidc.com.
Coach, you know, it always impressed me how you beat Florida State to win the 1996 National Championship.
And I was really impressed with your 06, 08, and 09 Gator teams.
And the way you coached Danny to the Heisman Trophy.
A lot like what you did with Tim Tebow.
You know, you won more SEC championships and you lost home games at the Swamp.
And you had plenty of super games in front of our Gator Nation.
Yeah, there really is something special about the Swamp.
I guess that's why we say about the Swamp, only the Gators get out alive.
To the Swamp and the Gators, with the best beverage served at Spur's Gridiron Grill, 100% agave, Los Landeros tequila, aged in bourbon barrels for a smoother taste.
I think you mean Head Beer Coach 1966 lager, a crisp, light, bodied lager for easy drinking.
Nope. Los Landeros tequila, smooth enough to drink neat and bold enough to elevate a cocktail.
1966 lager, enjoyed on game days in the fall or whenever you need a winning cold brew.
Los Landeros tequila.
1966 lager.
Los Landeros.
1966 lager.
Y'all stop bickering.
Okay, you're both wrong anyway. The best thing Spurrier's Gridiron Grill offers are Jerry's famous chocolate chip cookies.
All right, here we go. It's 8:30 on a Thursday morning, and you are now with JC. Win with JC, along with Zach Rothrock. And we're going to spend the next 30 minutes in our weekly installment of trying to find some winners to cash and make a little money going into the weekend. This is week 13 in the college football season, which I can't believe. I didn't even know last week was week 12. I can't see how that could be when these teams haven't played 12 games, but somehow they tell me that's what it was last week. At any rate, we're trying to improve a little bit, just a little bit on how we did last week, which was a little bit better than the previous week. But honest to God, the last 2 weeks have been nothing but average or poor at best. So we've got to try to change that. We're looking at trends. I've been taking too many underdogs. I think that's one of the problems I've had. We've seen a lot of teams cover these spreads as home favorites and road favorites and so on and so forth. So maybe we change it up a little bit this weekend. I could not find any discernible edge or trend on Florida, Tennessee, which makes no sense to me because this is one of the South's greatest rivalries. It's one of the SEC's best rivalries. I don't know why I couldn't find something on Florida, Tennessee, but here's the way I would play that. If you've got 4 points in your pocket and you think Florida hasn't quit, you take them. But if you think Florida is one of those teams that has just basically said, let's mail it in for the rest of the year, Tennessee with that offense has every capability of scoring between 30 and maybe even up to 40 points. So we'll see how that goes. I hope that's not the case. I'm going to go to that game, and we're going to see if we can bring the Gators home to their fourth big win of the season. And, yeah, I'm being a little bit facetious. We're going to start this week, Zach. Let's take a look at how we did last week real quick in cash and trash, the tickets that cashed and the tickets that we threw out. The winners we had were Georgia laying the 6.5. That was a fourth quarter game going into the fourth quarter at only 4 points. It was 14-10. Texas had just scored, and then Georgia decided to bury them. Northwestern almost beat Michigan. That was pretty much a soft cover, an easy cover, I should say, with 7.5 points. I loved Denver at home last week against their hated rival, the Chiefs, and then the Eagles. You know, the Eagles. This reminds me of the 2012 Alabama Crimson Tide that could not get a first down, but you could also not get a first down against them. And you have many of these SEC players playing for the Eagles, and you've got all these Georgia Bulldogs on defense, and you've got Jalen Hurts at quarterback, and that's why, and Landon Dickerson on the offensive line, and that's why it reminds me of a poor Alabama offense, because right now it's a poor Eagles offense. But my God, you cannot score on this team, and they won for us laying 2.5. There's the 5 losers. Don't even want to go through that. Again, look at all the favorites. You would have thought the Chargers would show up and get off the bus at Jacksonville. Jaguars probably played their best game in 10 years. And I'm sorry, folks, I just somehow did not see that coming.
Yeah,
we're talking about the Jaguars.
I feel bad about that one, actually. But it's a trend that I usually like to get on, and I went against it, is when a West Coast team has to play their game at 10 a.m. local time, they usually come out slow and sluggish, and I think that
they sure did.
The Chargers definitely did, for sure.
Oh, my God, that was just it just didn't even look like a real football game on their end of the football. But Jacksonville, I haven't seen them that physical in a football game since the days of John Henderson, Marcus Stroud, Mike Peterson. You remember those Jaguar defenses that had those guys on them in those games? They were headhunters. They were assassins, and it was hard to just get yards against that team. And some of the most physical games I've ever seen in my life was Pittsburgh Steelers and Jacksonville Jaguars, regardless of where they played. Leonard Fournette running the ball in some of those games as the years went along. And it was just a really physical type of game, and that's what we saw Jacksonville punish the Chargers, who really were hurting on the offensive line, and I think that's going to be the story of the rest of their season. I want to stay with the NFL real quick before we get to college. Typically, we like to go to college first. There are 2 games on this board this weekend that I'm typically not a big better, but if I had multiple houses, I think I'd put one of the houses on one of these games. And that happens to be this team who lost last week playing this team who seems to always win. This team is home. This team is on the road. This team has the MVP. And who is that? That's Jonathan Taylor. Why is he the MVP? How about this stat? Check this stat out. 31.5%, or 1/3 of the amount of times Jonathan Taylor touches the football, he gets either a first down or a touchdown. That is unfathomable. I'm going to mention that again tomorrow with Shane. But 1/3 of the time Jonathan Taylor touches the ball, that's why he's the most valuable player. Typically, they like to give it to a quarterback. Give it to this guy, because 1/3 of the time he touches the ball, he's either getting a first down or he's scoring a touchdown. This team is 5-5, I believe. They have to win because their playoff hopes are teetering right now. They are at home. And let me just tell you what I love about Kansas City. They're only laying 3.5. You could probably buy it down to 3. But on this game, the Colts are missing DeForest Buckner. He is their best defensive player. He's the defensive lineman that's now on the injured reserve list. The Chiefs are 4-1. This is a you must win kind of game. Sorry for the cliche, but they've got to have it. Kansas City is my play, laying a field goal at home in a must-win against Daniel Jones and the Colts.
Yeah, I'm with you on this. And in addition to that, the Colts, their worst games they've played this year, they've been outdoors. They played one against the Steelers in Pittsburgh, I know, where they couldn't get anything going offensively. So, yeah, I think that the Chiefs could potentially turn Danny Dimes back into Danny Two Nickels, and they could I think it's going to be one of those where the Chiefs win by 10 or 14 points. They don't typically win by a lot, but I think they're going to win relatively handily, despite the Colts coming off a bye week.
I don't care about any of that anymore because I think the Chiefs are basically playing for their season.
Yeah, they need it. They need it.
Yeah. A prop you could look at is Patrick Mahomes over 1.5 touchdowns passing the ball. He's hit that 6 out of the last 10 times. It's minus 180. It's a little juicy for me. But I've got a better prop coming up on a quarterback for you here in a moment. The other game that I love is New England. The Patriots. I think I've got, there's the Patriots hat down there. The Patriots, I don't know if you can see, maybe not. Anyway, Patriots. Drake May, who is also an MVP candidate, over 1.5 touchdowns in 8 of the last 10 games. 8 of the last 10. But again, very juicy, meaning you have to lay $18 to win 10 on that. But he's only thrown 5 interceptions on the year, and he is the reason why the Patriots are 9-2. Travion Henderson is averaging 5 yards per carry. They are at Cincinnati laying a touchdown. I think the Bengals might be, well, we already know about the organization, but dear God, they have just folded. And I just, you watch the Bengals and you just know they're not winning the game. But with New England, I don't think these are close wins. New England is beating people and covering the spread. They're very good against the spread.
Yeah, the thing I like about this game is I feel like the spread is set about the same as it would be if Jamar Chase were playing. 6.5 points and 50.5 total. I feel like that's about what it would be if he was playing. He's out. He's suspended after the spitting incident. Yeah, their offense is going to look significantly different without him on the field. T. Higgins is a great receiver.
Very good.
Joe Flacco's been doing it good. I know Burrow came back in practice, but without Jamar Chase, the offense is going to look completely different. And I do like the Patriots to continue to roll and continue to get a win against a pretty easy opponent they have.
Any other NFL games real quick before we shift into college?
Yeah, so I really like the over in the Giants and Detroit game. So it's at Detroit, so the Lions are getting back in their dome, sweet dome, where their offense is far more efficient. And in addition to that, on the other side, Jameis Winston is the quarterback for the New York Giants, and if he ain't going to do nothing else, he's going to throw the ball around. He might throw a pick six at some point. He's going to try to force throws. That's how you get that total going up, up, up. So, yeah, 50.5. I like the over in that.
I like that, too.
And one more also like is the Shedeur Sanders is getting his first start for the Cleveland Browns. I don't really care about that part as much, but they are going to the Raiders. They're getting 4 points, and I know that locker room, that Cleveland Browns locker room, they rally around this guy. They want Shedeur Sanders to succeed. They're going to be locked in. They want him to be their quarterback moving forward. So I like the Browns with 4 points at the Vegas Raiders.
I mean, hold your nose, dear God.
Their defense, the Browns' defense is by far and away the greatest unit in that game.
Get the air
freshener. I understand. I do understand the air
these
pressure.
These teams are just it's so incredible how good some are and how really bad others are. All right, well, thank you for those. Let me get a few quotes here on YouTube. I love reading the YouTubes. This is Franklin Hall, 9640. Franklin Hall says, JC, USC would have covered against Iowa. I agree, except for the atmospheric river deluge that happened in Los Angeles. That was weird. They got a damn tropical storm go through there. Now, it wasn't windy or anything, but the rain was made the place just a mess. And that's not common for Los Angeles football games. And during the time they played, now Southern Cal won by 5, but we missed that cover. And I agree with you, Franklin. Southern Cal was the better team there. And they've got a big one. We're going to discuss this upcoming game with the Oregon Ducks. Zach wants to know, with all the drama, why are you wearing a Mississippi hat? Well, this is a quail, okay? And this quail is emblematic of my favorite golf course in the state of Mississippi, which is called Annandale, where they have beautiful swans cascading through the lake. And it's just an incredible golf course. And one of my dearest and closest friends invites me to play golf up there. He likes to go hunt all the time, but I carry the golf team. And we play together. I hope he's not watching, but we play together. And Annandale and Madison, Mississippi, excuse me, is why I'm wearing this hat. And I really think when I put it on this morning, it just felt good. So I went with that. All right, let's go to some college football games, Zach. We covered some NFL picks that, again, Kansas City and New England for me, all day, every day. I'm really big on those. There are some SEC games, and there's one SEC game that's really, I think, interesting. It's the Missouri-Oklahoma game. OU coming off their biggest win of the season at Alabama, which we liked Oklahoma last week. I don't like Oklahoma, but, man, they were getting 5.5, 6 points, and on the money line they were 2-1, or actually maybe even higher than that. And they won the game taking advantage of sloppy Alabama turnovers. Statistically, they had gotten beaten on just about every offensive metric, but the biggest one was the turnover ratio and the turnovers that Alabama had, which you can say was forced by Oklahoma. Okay, that's fair. But fumbling a punt and things like that led to about 17 points, I think, in that game, and Oklahoma had 23. Offensively, they were not that good, 133 yards. But they're laying 7.5 to Mizzou. Now, Mizzou's got an issue with their quarterback. Of course, we've seen Zolars come in for Bo Pribula, and he's been pretty good as a freshman. He plays much more experience than that. Oklahoma's laying 7.5. They're going to come out in these ridiculous gray uniforms. The kids like that crap. I don't understand why you can't just come out with what you are. If the Gators rolled out against Tennessee in, I don't know, green and orange uniforms that look like Eastside High School, would that make you happy? But some of these kids like that stuff. And I can't explain it, don't want to try. But Oklahoma minus 7.5 is a game. And the under here, let me just tell you about the under. The under is 61.5% when you find that when a home team has been ranked better at, let me see. Here it is. In games featuring 2 ranked teams since 2017, home teams are 59%, but the under is the play in this game. And I had the reason why in front of me, and I've got so much crap in here in front of me. Here it is. Here it is. Teams coming off a win over a ranked team and playing another ranked team the next week are 72-33 to the under. That's almost 70%. So In this case, you want under Oklahoma 42.5. I hate unders, by the way. But in this case, you want under 42.5 against Missouri if you want that trend. The other under is Oregon and USC. In that case, you've got a number as high as 60, 59.5.
That's huge.
Now, these teams can score. Southern Cal can score, but Oregon has not been scoring a lot. They've been relying on their defense. So if you're looking at 2 unders and you're an angry person and you like to bet unders because angry people bet unders, take 42.5 under in Missouri, Oklahoma, and 59.5 under in Southern Cal and Oregon.
So if I had to pick which one of these I like the most, I got to go with Mizzou and Oklahoma under 42.5 because those two teams play like they want the under to hit every week. Oklahoma is built like an under team. They're built with their defense first. Missouri is built with run the ball, control clock offense. I don't think they can make that number low enough in that game. Whereas in the other game, Dante Moore's potentially the most talented player in that stadium, in that game. He's going to be able to put up points. 59.5 is a huge total, but USC, they've put up at least in the mid-20s every week, and in most of their competitive games, they do hit that 30 number. So that one makes me kind of nervous, but I follow your logic. But if I had to pick one, I like your Mizzou and Oklahoma under 42.5, despite that number being very small.
Yeah, I think Missouri's going to try to run the ball. They are salty on defense. We all know that Oklahoma is pretty damn salty on defense as well. So I don't know. Which side do you want to take on that? I'm not sure about that. 7.5. But again, I think Oklahoma would be the play for me if I were going to take the side. But,
I would take Oklahoma, and I would take Oregon and the other one. Yeah.
Gosh, I've been burned so much taking these road underdogs this year. It's gotten me scared to death. Now, this is a weekend where everybody makes fun of the SEC because after playing gauntlet all year long, we want a breather in November, and it pisses off people in the Big Ten because they have a breather every week. So they show that sensitivity to the SEC and shove it down our throat about playing these games where Alabama's playing a team like Eastern Illinois and Georgia's playing a team like Charlotte and Auburn's playing somebody like, say, maybe Mercer, blah, blah, blah. If you want to hold your nose right now and look at these big dogs like Charlotte getting 44.5 points at Georgia. Charlotte is 1-9.
That's a crazy number. Yeah.
The points, man, it's a hold your nose situation. Rutgers at Ohio State. Okay, let's think. Ohio State has had in the last 3 games that Penn State team, which at the time was winless in the league. Then they go and play a rugged game against UCLA. They did not cover, or actually I think they may have, but no, I don't think they did. And then you've got this Rutgers team rolling into the horseshoe. You got to be the most bored college football fan in the country watching Ohio State play as a Buckeye, but you win all the time. And that guarantees you fun in the postseason. Charlotte's getting 44.5. Rutgers is getting 31.5. The only way I'm looking at this is if I use a teaser at 6 points, and I take that 44.5 up to 50.5, and I take that 31.5 up to 37.5, crossing that 35 number, and I pair them up and close my eyes and say, okay, I'm going to lay odds to take a 6-point teaser with Rutgers and Charlotte. I got to be an absolute degenerate, but you don't have to win the game or even be close to win the bet. That's the whole point of this. So I kind of like that. Let's go through some other college games real quick.
Yeah.
I don't know if we have a board up on some of these games, but I just want to roll through some of them this weekend that are of interest. Texas is laying 8.5 at home against Arkansas, coming off a bad loss. Arkansas has yet to win under Bobby Petrino. I like Texas. I think they're going to try to make a statement in this game, but they've played bad football in the last month or so. Kentucky, on the other hand, has played pretty good football. They are getting 9.5 at Vanderbilt, who is on the outside looking in on the playoff, but still has mathematical opportunities there. Kentucky is 24-16 somehow against the spread, and in this game, that's a 60% number. I think Kentucky could hang with Vanderbilt. I do. I think Pavia is a magic man, but Pavia has been somewhat exposed in the last couple of games. Georgia Tech, this is a big game in the ACC if there is such a thing, because honestly, I don't know if there really is. Georgia Tech is laying 2.5 against Pittsburgh. and I'm not trying to make fun of the ACC, but we're looking at one team making the playoffs out of that entire league.
Yeah.
I think Georgia Tech laying 2.5 at home is a safe bet. I think Pittsburgh was exposed last week by Notre Dame.
Yeah, I like the Georgia Tech offense and Haynes King and the way they can control the ball. So, yeah, I like Georgia Tech in that the weak ACC conference to keep it rolling.
I got a funny. I am the same boy I used to be, says Captain Mauser. I guess that's me. Remember when you lost your eyebrows in Police Academy? Yes, that was a humbling moment for Captain Mauser. Kind of like the last 2 weeks betting on these football games. Thank you for that.
I did not know what they meant by that. I'm glad you followed that.
Somebody thinks I look like some guy that was on Police Academy. I never saw any of the movies, and I have absolutely no idea who that is. I don't watch movies. But once in a while, I'll watch Star Wars.
Oh, my God.
I'll watch a Star Wars.
They're kind of onto something.
I'll watch a Star Wars rerun. Are they on to something? You would know that. You and your Gen Zers or Xers or whatever. What are you? A Gen Y? X?
I wish I was that.
Millennial?
I'm a millennial, yeah.
Yeah, you guys know about all this stuff. I'm just watching live sports. All right, that's my fault. I should be watching more movies. It would make me more well-rounded.
Captain Mauser, aka JC, on the screen right now.
Yes. You think that guy looks like me? I mean, put a hat on that guy. Maybe I look like that guy. Maybe I do. I think he's a very. I tell you what, he's a very attractive individual. I would say that's a
next
great
time you
compliment.
call in and I have to throw up a photo, I think that's what I'm going to go with and see if anyone notices.
I like that. Thank you for the text. All right. Let's see. Oh, here's a trend for you. I'm tired of talking about Southern Cal and Oregon. Just take the under in that game and hope you win it. So let's see. Here's where I was saying earlier that these big underdogs that are just disgusting are playing these teams like Georgia and Auburn and Alabama. When a handle better, meaning when you look at the betting splits and you see the percentage of dollars on a certain side versus or alongside the number of bets as a percentage. The handle bettors, when a majority of the money favors the under, they have been 56%. Now, here's the bigger trend. When the majority of the handle bettors have been very good when getting behind huge home favorites, those favored by 27.5 or more points have gone 60% over the last 3 seasons. So that would take you to Ohio State. That would take you to Notre Dame. That would take you to Toledo and Ohio. I think those Mackey games have already been played. Don't know what happened. Should have watched them. Didn't. I watched Tulsa King. But also Ohio State and Notre Dame would be the plays on that trend for you in college football. I mean, this is just kind of a weird bet. Here's a couple of games I really like. I like North Texas over 55.5 at Rice. North Texas is rated number 1 in the country in points per game at 45.3. Eric Morris is your coach there. Look for him to probably land at a place like maybe Arkansas or somewhere like that as the new head coach somewhere. Eric Morris in Denton, Texas, leading the Mean Green is a hot commodity. They are number 1 in the country in scoring points. I think they will cover that number against Rice at 18.5. Well, they may not cover that, but I definitely think they go over 55.5. I think BYU, who is 26th in the country in total yards, 27th in passing, and 13th in points, on the road at Cincinnati, losers of 2 straight. You're catching the Bearcats on a little bit of a downtrend, and you're only laying 2.5 points. I think BYU is a play there. I will go with 2 dogs, which have been burning me here lately. But Maryland getting 2 touchdowns at home against a Michigan team that can't get a first down or score and is missing their best running back in Justice Haynes. They are getting 14 points, 13.5 to 14 points. Check where you shop on that number. And then Nebraska at Penn State. Penn State burned me a couple weeks ago with Michigan State, or was that last week? At any rate, Nebraska's getting 8.5. So that takes you over the key number of 7. Nebraska's 7-3. Penn State is 4-6. So I think those are some games you can look at. I love those NFL games, Zach. Is there anything you want to add before we have to shove off?
No, I got to my picks. The bet I think I like the most is probably that Detroit versus Giants over 50.5. I just love betting on Jameis Winston to throw a pick six and make things interesting. And Detroit at home is going to put up points and get their offense back going again.
I think the Lions will. They ran into an Eagles team that's just really at a different level right now.
They're going to shut a lot of offenses down. They are.
Yeah, they are, but you can beat the Eagles. Dallas is playing them this weekend, and I think Dallas, with the addition of those two linemen that they signed at the trade deadline, Kenny Clark and Quinnen Williams, changes a lot.
That makes a difference.
Changes that whole team because it shows the offensive side of the ball where you have Pickens and Lamb, and Pickens is going to have an advantage against the D-back for Philadelphia, just basically on size. They're going to look for George Pickens. You may want to go on a receptions prop with George Pickens. But the point is that I think Dallas keeps Philadelphia within range, but the Eagles are, again, only laying a couple of points. It's hard to bet against that team right now just with the way they're going. Hey, everybody, if you like what you've heard in the last 25 minutes and you want to keep this thing going through basketball season, by the way, Roll Tide against Illinois last night, beating the Illini in Chicago. Outright winner as an underdog. But if you like this type of format and what we talk about for a few minutes, and if you want more time on this kind of thing, give Freddie Weeby a call. He's our producer, and he will also give you options on how to support this show. The number is 352-284-3733. Again, 352-284-3733. And we're going to keep this going through the playoffs. We'll get ready for, I guess in basketball season, we'll certainly talk some NBA. I'm sure folks love that. And we'll try to keep you up to date on how we're doing as guys who are giving you these plays and these trends. So tomorrow I'll be back on with Shane at 8 o'clock on PodUp with Matthews in the morning. Have a good weekend, everybody, and good luck with your bets.